I was going through a divorce, trying to work this, nutrition, whatever you want to call it at that point in time. Pushed a little further, did the show, and fell apart. Like,
Yeah.
my world just changed, and to the point of I was so suicidal. I had a plan. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm here today, honestly.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Nailed It. I'm your host, Brandon Jensen, and today's guest is Zane Smart, the owner of Craftsman Appliances, one of the premier appliance companies in the game. But Zane's story isn't just about business. It's about grit, survival, and finding self-worth. He started at the bottom, worked his way up through the trades, and eventually became the owner. But along the way, he battled dark seasons, including a moment where he almost ended his own life. In this episode, Zane opens up about the turning point and how his journey of self-discovery became the foundation of the life and success he's building today. This one's powerful. Let's dive in. This is Nailed It. Well, Zane, tell me, I know a little bit about you, but give us a brief history, right? Where you grew up, where you went to school, kind of the pathway to getting in appliances. I know at one point you were installing appliances, selling appliances. I mean, you've kind of been in this game for a little bit, but tell us the story of how you got into appliances.
All right. So I grew up in Fort Union.
Okay.
When there was really nothing around, it was awesome growing up in that time.
So the family center development, that wasn't there?
That was not there all the way. Part of it. Went to Hillcrest High School. Didn't really do well.
Because you didn't apply yourself?
Didn't
because
apply myself.
Yeah.
I believe more than anything looking back. From there, I just started working and went into the office equipment repair.
Okay, like Les Olson, like faxes.
So I
and
worked for a
copiers
company that did laser printers and mainly just delivering stuff, and started working on printers and worked my way to where I was probably one of the top technicians in Utah once upon a time when Hewlett-Packard was still based mostly out of Boise and dealing with engineers on products and stuff back then, and did that for a number of years. And then come 2006, I had an offer to go to work for a company that sold appliances, and my role there was for 6 years was basically to deal with any customer service issues. Like, the company I was working for at the time was probably $40 million a year, and we'd have some difficult clients or product that wasn't working like it should, and I had to learn and basically build relationships with people in the industry to get product replaced or fixed or whatever it took just to make these people happy.
And to be clear, we're not talking, these people bought a Whirlpool refrigerator and it's not working. We're talking these people have spent a lot of money on these appliances and something's not working. Or there's user error happening because the appliances are maybe more sophisticated than they're used to, and you're now like, okay, I'm the point man here on all this stuff.
Right.
So you're showing up and people are probably not happy. I mean, maybe happy that you're there, but pissed off that something's not working the way that it's supposed to.
Or just receiving a phone call and saying, hey, I can get this scheduled, I can get it taken care of, and I would see the process through, whether it was having a local service provider go out and maybe work on it 1, 2, 3 times, and then taking it to the factory and going for replacement at that point. But, along the way, having these relationships that you have over the period of time, that you get to know the right people to get things done in a timely manner. So, I did that for 6 years, and during that time we had 08, and 08 was not fun.
It was a pinch.
Yeah, that was not fun.
So you said the company you were working for, they were about that time in 2006, they were maybe doing 40 million a year,
Yeah.
probably a little bit more in 07, 08, or mostly 07. What would be your best guess what they did in like 08, 09, 2010?
I think it dropped about from 40 to maybe 18 to 20.
Ooh, yeah,
Like half.
staggering. Yeah,
And the owner, who is a really good guy, literally walked around because when they were growing at such a fast pace, they would put a body in a chair and give them a task. And after the recession hit, he literally walked around and said, "Okay, what do you do? And how long does it take you to do your job in a day? Just need you to be honest." And there were people saying, 2 hours, 3 hours. And he'd say, "Thanks for your honesty. I got to let you go."
yeah,
And it went from probably 100 employees to half over a number of like 6 or 7 cuts. I made it all the way through all the cuts because I think for a few reasons, no one else wanted to do my job.
yeah.
No one likes
You
to
were
get
willing.
yelled at.
You were willing. Yeah. Well, and you were also willing to do like the hard work.
Yeah, did the work. Also put on a couple more hats. Did some receiving. Whatever it took. And so, that's where I got my feet wet in the appliance world.
Yeah. And what did you leading up to that? Right. So obviously you went to Hillcrest High.
Yeah.
Right out of high school. What were you doing right out of high school?
I worked for like a frozen yogurt place for a while.
Okay.
And Francesco's, and I worked for Training Table Restaurant.
Like in the service
Yeah.
industry a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Training Table, man. Oh, man,
Best.
that amazing sauce that they
I
had.
know.
Hey, I actually saw this thing, and if you go to like at the Training Table website, it says they're like supposed to be opening one sometime.
That's what I keep
but
hearing.
Yeah, but I'm like, okay, when's it coming? Because
Yeah,
I'm going
right.
to get some cheese fries and
Yep.
some amazing
Some of the
sauce
dipping
and like,
sauce.
yeah.
Yep.
So we would always go there with my dad, and like good memories, great place.
Yeah.
But okay, so you do a few of these service jobs, then you
Yep.
kind of get into the copy repair thing. And were you doing the copy repair thing up until 2006? Is that kind of what that looked like?
I
Okay.
was, yep.
So you're doing that for a little bit. You're kind of like, hey, maybe make a career out of this thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you're probably making decent money, or okay money.
Okay money.
Yeah. So you go into the appliance thing. It's probably better money, better opportunity. You do that till 2012. What happens in 2012?
Here, like, I'll back up just a little bit.
Yeah. Fill in the gaps.
So along the way, by not applying myself in school, and I just think there was a point where I was like, I'm not worth more than $40,000 a year. So I
Yeah.
carried that belief everywhere I went. And whether I was working in the printer industry or whatever, I just kept.
This is my
it.
max.
Yeah, this is where I'm
Yeah.
maxed. I should be happy. Just take what I'm getting, and I'll probably be here for the rest of my life. And fast forward to 2012, I had an offer to go to work for a builder here in town. I won't name any names, but it was the worst year of my life. I was a warranty superintendent for them, and they basically just kept, at the end, they said, "We got to let you go. You're giving away the farm." And I kept thinking, I'm not giving away the farm. I'm just making things right for people that have just purchased homes that you've built really crappy.
Yeah.
That was the bottom line. And so when the day they let me go, I thanked them. I said, "Thank you for letting me go. I'm ready to move on."
I would have stuck. I would have continued to stick it out.
Yeah,
kind of thing. Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to go do something different. So, it was good. It was a good experience to have such a crappy job, to know what I didn't want to. I didn't want to be doing that the rest of my life.
Sometimes you need a shitty job
You
to
do.
be like,
I mean, that's the deal.
that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
So you do that 2012 to 2013.
Yeah. So then I decide I'm gonna be a nutritionist. So
I do remember this.
I ramped that up, and I was
training people,
doing meal plans,
helping people get in shape,
just
stay
doing
in
the
shape.
best. Yeah. Just
prep
doing that.
for shows.
Yeah, I help a few people prep for shows, and then I was prepping for a few shows, and that was probably the worst business I could have started in Utah, and I still don't know how anyone makes it in that industry, because everyone in Utah they just want to. I'd have people pop in to visit. Hey, you just want to pop in and say hi, and then an hour later, I've given them an hour of advice on what to do, and they're gone, and I don't have any more money.
Yeah.
So it was that was a tough one. Like, that was a tough number of years, feast or famine. I'd have a great month, I'd have 2 crappy months, and then a good month.
And how many years did you do that?
5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly 5 years.
And were you up in the Brickyard area that whole time?
Yeah, right next to the smokestack up there. Yeah.
Okay, I remember that.
Yeah.
So you did that for 5 years, and I'm sure you enjoyed it, right? Because aspects of it, you enjoy the part where you get to see people, change their life around, change their habits, lose the weight, live a healthier lifestyle. Like, you can see the light come back in their persona, and
see, watching type 2 diabetics that don't need to take medication anymore because they're eating right and their body's doing what it's supposed to. I mean, that was the stuff that was fun. Dealing with competitive athletes was probably the least fun, honestly.
Especially when they're not eating.
But and that's really tough. But I enjoyed what I did. It just was so financially.
It wasn't making the ends meet.
No.
And okay, so anyway, so you do this, and what was your most favorite thing about it? Maybe it's the diabetes thing, because I know you've always had this passion for fitness and things like that. And what do you think drew you to that? Like, hey, you know what? I think like I could make a little career out of this. I can make a little money.
I think from the time I started competing in the early 90s, I had a drive for that. Like, I did a little personal training on and off, just part-time when I was younger. So I enjoyed that. And I did think at one point, like, I can make a career out of this because I am so passionate about health and fitness and being around all of it. And it was just lackluster. Like, there was just nothing. After 4.5 years, really, it was like, I don't think I'm cut out to do this forever.
Yeah. Well, and I think, when you're kind of in that environment, you tell me if you agree, your reality gets skewed, right? You're in this environment, it's kind of a tight-knit group.
For sure.
And then it's like, all the people you're hanging out with are working out. The people that they go to the gym. Like, it's kind of like, I think you get this false idea that, like, everybody's like this.
Right.
And the people that aren't like this, they want to be like this, right? They want to work out at the gym. They want, and that's not necessarily the case.
Right.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's people want to eat their ice cream and they want to have their fast food and they want to, like, it's, choose your hard, right?
Yeah.
And like, well, it's hard being fat. Well, okay, I like being fat. Or I like my food more than I like being in shape.
And I think if I'm being honest, I think the part where I'm like, maybe I'm not cut out for this is when I start thinking, like, I think I'm just too black and white when it comes down to meal plans and things like that. Like, I know I have the ability to eat food that most people couldn't. They couldn't do it for one day, let alone 10 years in a row.
Yeah, let's talk about some of this food. So, once upon a time, you told me this story, and I know that it's true. But tell me what the hamburger, milkshake, blender. I think people need to hear this because I've eaten a lot of things, and bro, I gotta be honest, I think that's a little gross. So anyway,
it's fuel.
So tell us what that was.
So I think back in about 2015, 16-ish, I I was trying to figure out a way to get my food in
Fast.
And so I started experimenting with blending different foods together. And so I had two different smoothies I would do. One was ground beef, bananas, and blueberries and water. And the other one was chicken, sweet potato, a little bit of coconut oil from time to time, and water. And I have done that one for 10 years, almost 10 years.
Are you still doing that
I
one?
still do it. I have 2 to 3 a day.
Bro, I am like,
and it's not. I get it. Like, it's not for everyone. But I look at even today's competitors that I'm around a lot, especially at the gym I go to, and I'm like, a lot of them just don't know the suffering part of what it takes to be at the top of the game. And there was no way I was ever going to be at the top of that game at all.
Yeah.
Like, genetically, I wasn't cut out for it, but I had fun with it. Ended on a high note in 16. I won my show, and I was like, I'm good. I'm 46 years old. I can be done.
Yeah.
But I still eat chicken smoothies. So
I think it's, for those people that have done it and it's become a lifestyle, it sticks with you, right?
Sure.
I meal prep every Sunday.
You probably always will.
Like, yeah, because it's ingrained in me, right?
Sure.
It's like it's part of my DNA, and it makes me more efficient. It ensures that I eat lunch because, I'll be out cruising around and it's like, oh, I forgot to snag my lunch today because I thought I was going to be back to the office to grab it, and then I'm going, oh, well, there's not really anything to eat, and there's a Chick-fil-A. No, I don't want that. I always feel like garbage when I eat that. And I'm not stopping at McDonald's and an Arby's, and maybe I'll stop and get Jimmy John's or something with double meat. But I'll oftentimes not eat because I don't have my lunch with me.
Sure.
Because it's like, oh, my ground or grilled chicken, tomato, some avocado, like a fruit, a vegetable, like it's
what we've done.
Yeah. And I feel good. I don't feel like, oh my gosh, what did I eat? Like, so. Yeah,
I know. That's exactly the deal. Like, and I've just done it for years and years and years. And people still, when it gets talked about, they're like, why do you still do that? Because it still works for me.
Yeah.
Because I can still get food in that's really good, healthy food. It's not protein powders or anything like that. It's just real food. I can get it in quick, 60 seconds.
Yeah. And it's what? How many calories is it? 400 calories?
400 or 500. Yeah, something like that.
So a decent calories.
Yeah.
Hold you over till the next meal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, it's still gross to me, but maybe one day I'll give it a little whirl. You save me a shot. I might be able to tolerate a shot.
I can do that.
So, okay. So anyway, back onto you do that. So that's 2013ish. You start that. You do that for about 4 years. So now we're like 2017, 2018, right in there.
Well, 2016.
Okay.
Is when it would have been July of 2016. I was going through a divorce, trying to work this, nutrition, whatever you want to call it at that point in time. Going through that, there was just, it was not real good consistency. Not real motivated at that point. Even though I was doing a show it was June of 16. I was getting ready for my show and going, I knew I was getting divorced. Pushed a little further, did the show, and fell apart. Like, my world just changed. And, to the point of, I was so suicidal, I had a plan. Like, I don't know how I'm here today, honestly.
I remember talking to you.
Yeah, and it's real. And I spent a full week at LDS Hospital, which is pretty rare to spend that much time up there because, 2 days would go by. Hey, you ready to go home? I'm like, I'll be dead by nightfall if you let me go.
Yeah.
I knew I was safe. I knew I was safe there. I knew I'd made some promises to my kids. And I'm like, you better keep me, because if not, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So when I left there, my brother and sister-in-law said, you're coming to stay with us for a little bit down in Alpine. So
Yeah.
I moved in with them and decided, hey, it's time for me to fold up shop and do something. I needed to get something stable and try to get my life back in order, which was still at that point in time was a huge struggle. Like,
Yeah. Because how old are your kids at this time?
let's see, they would have been early 20s.
Okay. So they're maybe, if they are at home, they've got their own lives. They're like, but I mean, it's not like you had teenagers at home kind of thing.
Yeah, no, that one was moved out and one was home. She was 18. I think she would have been 18
Okay.
at the time. And, at that point, I'm not living at home because I'm separated. And
You got your own place, or you live in?
I was living with a friend.
Okay.
And anyway, so I moved in with my brother and sister-in-law, and I'm like, okay, I need to get something stable. So I went to work for a company called Cintas here in town.
Cintas. Oh,
they do like the uniforms and stuff like
yeah,
that.
and like, do they also do some like the cleaning where you like have like the rugs that they swap out at commercial properties?
Absolutely,
And,
yeah.
Okay.
So I was in the first aid division, and I would go and I was basically a guy that drove around and filled up first aid kits at businesses.
Yeah.
And it was a good thing for a while. Like,
It was consistent.
Yeah, it was consistent. I was
Checks came in every 2 weeks.
Yeah, decent money, and I was there for probably about a year, and got a call from a friend that worked at Craftsman Kitchens and said, "Hey, we want you to come over and do what you did when you were at the other company."
Yeah.
And I said, "Let's do it." Like, I kind of like doing that, so I helped him with installs, and I did the customer service thing, and very little selling at that point in time. And
And where were most of the jobs coming from? The other guy that was selling, or it was also, the cabinet guys were trying to sell it as like a package deal, or that really wasn't happening a lot?
Cabinet stuff was not really generating many
leads.
Not many at all. We did have, there would have been 3 of us total on that side. One was a full-time sales guy, and then an installer sales guy, and then myself. And so I think we went a year and then kicked the one guy loose because he wasn't bringing anything to the table at that point.
Yeah.
And the 2 of us took it over and ran with it and really started growing it. I think we grew $1 million the first year.
Yeah.
Just by hustling, getting after it.
Yeah. And
meeting new builders and doing our thing.
Returning phone calls.
Returning phone calls. Goes a long way.
So what year's this? Is this like
2018?
2019?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you've been with Craftsman 7 years about?
Yep.
Yeah. 4, 6, 7 years.
Yeah.
So okay, so you come in, you kind of take over. I know that there's been some changes in ownership and different things, and now you're actually a part owner in the appliance side of the business. So tell us what kind of changed in your belief system to where you were like, you know what, I'm a badass, and like I can do this, and I believe in myself, and because when I hear you say like, oh, I'm only worth this $40,000, and I think about the Zane that I've known, I've always thought like, oh man, he's an overachiever, he's a hard worker, looking at the fitness, it's like, you've stepped on stage, which I was talking to a buddy of mine, and I'm like, hey man, like a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to get on stage, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and a lot of people don't. Like, I think it's very admirable, having done it myself, that it's a journey.
Oh, totally.
And it's a sacrifice, and it's a hard thing to get on stage. And when I think like, okay, hey, you've been on stage, you've done hard things, you can do hard things, you could, so where is it you feel like your limiting belief changed in that?
It was after I went to work for Craftsman, for sure.
Yeah.
And I probably wasn't there but 6 months or so, and just saw more doors opening. Like,
yeah.
even though I wasn't really selling much, I kind of dabbled in the selling side of it. And when I started selling, I think is when I'm like, wow, I think I can do this. Like, I really think I can find my groove here. Like,
Yeah.
and get going on this.
Because you know about it, you've serviced them, you know how to talk to people about it, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to the sales guy coming in selling something they've never worked on, they've never even opened, they don't know how it works, they don't like. I feel like you have a very intimate relationship with the appliance because you've been in them.
Sure. And that is a little different. And you can really speak to a lot of things that a lot of people just don't, right?
Yeah.
Like, for example, these ice machines that everyone wants to have in their homes.
Everybody.
No one realizes that they are like little 1980 Ferraris that want to be in the shop every 10 minutes. And, you might as well just buy a bag of ice at Holiday Oil every day instead of owning one.
Because you could buy a lot of ice before. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Yeah, let me ask you this. Would you ever put one in your own house?
No way. No.
See, I kind of feel a little bit the same.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't ever not sell one to someone that comes to me. But I have like I felt it's in, the best thing I can do is be honest with my clientele. And I give them like a 5-minute on why you shouldn't own one.
Yeah.
And if you decide you want one after that, we've at least had that adult conversation.
Yep.
And so I do. This is the maintenance that you got to do every 4 to 6 months. And this is what's going to happen probably this year. And this is what's going to happen after this many years. And then if it leaks, it's going to take out a floor and possibly the ceiling below it. As long as you have those conversations ahead of time, I think you're good, right? Like, it's not like I didn't warn them in a way, because it's an ice machine. Like, they're known to fail at some point.
Pumping water into this machine,
You're moving a lot of water.
And they're freezing the water, and water causes damage.
And it
when
causes
it's
a lot of damage
where it's supposed to be.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
So, as we all know. So, but I think at that point in time I was like, and when I did go to work for them, they were very generous. They boosted me over my limit that I thought I was worth. And as soon as I went past that, I went, wait a minute. Like, that's kind of peculiar. Like, that wasn't 40,000. That was more.
Uh-huh.
And they've always been very thankful and very appreciative of everything I've brought to the table.
Yeah.
I've always treated that company like it was my own company, which I learned that years earlier from working with my grandfather when I was young, like a little guy. And it's paid dividends. Like, treat stuff like it's your own.
Yeah. Tell me about what you did with your grandfather.
So when I was about 5 years old, in the summertime, he owned an electric motor shop off 33rd South and West Temple, and I lived 2 houses away from him, so he would just kind of get me out of the house and take me down to his shop, and he set me up a workbench, and he would bring in all these little motors and say, I need you to oil this motor and test it right here, and then I need you to put it in this box here. And little did I know, these were never going to be used ever again. But
he was paying you to do it.
He would pay me, and every day he would go grab the box again and bring it back out, and I would redo the same motors. And I had no idea until later in life. But I learned a lot, even from those young ages, of watching my grandfather, who was basically like, he was the top guy working on electric motors in Utah. He was actually deferred from going to the war because he had to keep all the refrigeration in Salt Lake running, and he was just that guy. Like, lived through the depression. They could fix anything.
Yep.
I mean, just watching those, watching the things that he could do. But more than that, watching the relationships he had with his clients and his customers that would come in was unbelievable. Even from a little young age, I picked that up. Like, these people love my grandfather. Like,
Yeah.
they think he is the best.
He's the best thing.
He's the best thing around. And I took a lot of that with me. Like, when I started selling and using that, like, I love stories. I love a good story. Like,
I'm a story guy.
tell me a good story about, like, where you started and where you ended up, and if you made a whole pile of money legitimately along the way because you executed a plan, good for you. You just achieved the American dream.
Yeah.
Right? So I like that, and I love getting to know my clients. I mean, that's, we deal with some high net worth individuals
Yeah.
that are really super chill, awesome people to work with. And I feel fortunate.
Yeah, there's definitely, there's a lot of good people out there.
There really are.
And just good, down to earth, wholesome people.
Yeah.
Appreciative. Obviously, there's the others that aren't.
Well, you're always going to have the other, right?
But you're really appreciative, very gracious. And we've had some incredible clients that are the same way. Very gracious, very, just happy, right?
Yeah.
And so it always makes you feel nice when people are grateful and they recognize, like, a job well done, so to speak.
Sure. Absolutely.
So they hire you, they give you, they bring you on at this salary above what you felt your top was, your ceiling.
Blew the ceiling right off.
And then you've been there for a little bit. Now in this first year where you kind of like, it's just you and this other gentleman.
Yeah.
You guys pump out a million plus from what you were doing the year before.
Yeah.
And then from there is the ownership starting to say, like, there's some real money to be made here. We want to invest. We want to get some installers. We want to get, like, where does that kind of start to change, where even it probably changes your belief even again, and you're looking at it going like, hey, maybe there's an opportunity for me to become even more valuable or take on some of this ownership. When does that kind of come about?
So I think we just did our thing for a few years, like,
Yeah.
selling and installing. I wasn't really I didn't really help install. I was more of the guy that helped move stuff around, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Paul was an amazing installer. So I think it was a few years into doing, because I started growing my clientele and he was growing his clientele, his builders that he was working with. I worked with some, and it was really clicking, and we were growing, and we were doing really, really good things. And I think it was 22, halfway through 22 or something like that, that he kind of left without much notice.
Yeah.
Was gone.
He's like, I'm done. Peace out.
Peace out. And I'm like, oh crap, what do I do?
Yeah.
And at first I didn't know what to do, because they had asked the two of us, can you two run this division? And we're like, yeah, we can do this. And now it's me, and I'm like, can I run this division? And I'm like, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
We're going to dig deep, and we're going to find out. And
long hours during this time, I'm sure, because you're trying to clean up.
Extremely stressful.
Take care of his clients, take care of your clients, put together missing parts, or missing pieces, missing puzzle pieces.
There was just things that just didn't make sense, and numbers of just days and hours and hours and hours sitting with Joyce at my office. We were trying to figure out this puzzle without the secret decoder pin. I tell everyone, because I was just trying to figure out, I don't even know where this goes, and we're working through it, and it was messy for a year. Like, it was a messy year, but I grew more in that year than I realized. Like being able to make it a year and then look back and go, holy crap.
I made it.
I made it to the other side. It was awesome. Like, not that I miss Paul. He was great to work with.
Yeah.
But, things move on. You got to keep
Right.
going. And so now at this point, I'm basically doing all the selling. I have an install crew. They're amazing installers as well, I believe.
Yeah. I like those guys.
They just came through on one for me today that turned out really cool. And it's still clicking. And we're just getting started.
Just clipping along.
Yeah.
So you guys recently acquired another company that expands your appliance reach, and kind of tell me how that conversation happened, where they said, hey, there's an opportunity here to maybe buy into some ownership, and obviously your limiting belief is maybe there's a little bit still there, but you've had these things that have kind of pushed that envelope or that ceiling that you thought was there.
Yeah.
How does that conversation go? How do you go from, hey, I came in to help out, and 7 years later you've got ownership in it, right?
Yeah, I mean we had the change in ownership. A group came in and acquired us, and we're mainly known for our cabinetry.
Yeah.
And they're still to this day, people are like, oh my gosh, you guys do appliances? And we're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we can help you with that as well. So there's still a lot of room for us to expand, and a lot of, there's a lot for us to still do and grow. But we're known typically for our cabinetry. New group comes in and buys us. And we keep clipping along, and then we start talking about, I hear that we're talking about buying another company out of Bountiful. And no, it wasn't Durden's. That was a big mess.
Yep.
And at that point, they said, hey, we want to start, and under the umbrella, we want to have an appliance division, and we want you to be an owner. We want you to have ownership in it, and would you want to participate in that? And I'll be honest, for the most of my life, I couldn't rub two nickels together. I didn't have them to
Yeah.
there was just no way I could fund that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have any funds. I've done really well. I'm very blessed. And I'm like, I have the money sitting in the bank. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And so I invested, and I'm a decent owner in that division.
You invested in yourself.
Yes.
And the ownership recognized, hey, this guy, he's they're probably looking at it saying, do we want to do this? Yes. Do we want to do this without Zane? And they're probably looking at it going, no. In order to do this, in order for it to pencil, Zane's our guy. That's who we want there, right?
And yes, they have literally come out and said that. And it's funny for me to hear that, because I struggle with some of that stuff looking back now.
Mm-hmm.
Always had trouble with the money thing. The 40,000 was a ceiling, right? I'm not getting past that. And the fact that people would need me that much, that's just crazy talk,
Yeah.
And to hear people say, no, we need you here to do this, to make this work. And so it really has, it's helped in a lot of ways, really. Boost my overall.
Ego?
Yeah, me.
Yeah.
Really, it has boosted just me in general. So, and it's tricky though. I looked at it as I had a business once, and it didn't do so well. So do I want to be part of a business? But what we do have is we have a team.
You're not doing it by yourself.
I'm not doing it by myself.
Yep.
There's no way.
Yeah.
We have a team, and they're awesome, and I'm ready just to grow this thing in the next 9 years before the Olympics get here.
Yeah. I love it. And look, I've known you for years, and you're my appliance guy, I
love that.
You're the guy who, hey, whatever I need, And I appreciate, if I'm just looking for something random because we've got to get a washer and dryer over here or something, you're candid, like, hey man, right now we can't touch that. We're acquiring price wise, right? Like I can get it for you, but like, hey, you're probably going to get a better price if you just go snag one of these, right?
Sure.
And then of course you're always more than willing to help out. Like, hey, we can come throw them in if you need us to. But like, I appreciate that. Obviously it's like you could get the money, you get the sell, but at the end of the day, that builds confidence, it builds trust, and it's like, hey, this is who I'm going to, right? Especially for all of the more expensive, the real, dial movers, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna need a washer. Okay, that's not moving the needle, right? That's not moving the needle.
Not that we don't want to deal with those things. It's just the truth is there's companies that buy in such quantity, no one can really touch some of their stuff, right? Like it's one of those tricky ones. I have to get my laundry through a different source than a lot of the big companies, and it's more expensive if I go that way. But when it comes to the big ticket items, we're pretty much on a level playing field. Yeah. Right? So, the pricing is protected, or at least it should be protected. And I think that's where people get the experience from Craftsman, not just the appliances from Craftsman. Yeah. Where it's a start to finish thing. I'll meet with people. I'll order your products. We'll squat on them at the warehouse until your job's ready for them, because the last thing we want is expensive workbenches going out to a job site.
Oh, and that's what they've become if they show up on the job site too early. They got to show up and go in the hole.
Yeah. And so that's one of our selling points. We'll keep them at the warehouse. We're not going to charge you to keep them at the warehouse. Yeah. Because we don't want them going out there any more than you want them going out there. And then I have this team of installers that'll show up and install it properly. Like it's the full package.
Yeah. The turnkey.
Turnkey.
Let me as we're kind of winding down, talk to me a little bit about appliances, right? Because I think for most people we think, oh, refrigerator, and as a builder I immediately think refrigeration, Sub-Zero, Thermador, cooking, Wolf, right? Yeah. That's the arena that we're usually operating in, right? But if you were to talk to an edge home builder or something, they're thinking Whirlpool, LG, right? There's a big gamut in appliances. And talk to us briefly about, I know the refrigeration at Sub-Zero is second to none. Kind of tell us what some of your favorites are and why. I know you love a certain dishwasher. Let's just pick on, touch on a few of them and tell us why those are kind of your favorites.
Well, I mean, for starters, my favorite brand to work with is going to be, they go by 3 brands: Sub-Zero, Wolf, and Cove.
And it's the same company.
It's the same company. Yeah. So they do the refrigeration, the cleaning, and the cooking. And the reason they're my favorite is for several reasons. Yes, they're expensive. They're a premium product for sure. The saying is you buy once, but you only cry once. So it is, it's an expensive product.
You buy once, but you only cry once.
Yeah.
Like, because you're not going to deal with the heartache of
they build all their products to go 20 years plus.
Yeah.
And they do a fantastic job of building a product that'll go 20 years plus if it's maintained properly. The biggest thing for me is after the sell, most companies they wash their hands. They're like, oh, the sell's done. Like, we've got 2 years of warranty and then we're completely done, or whatever it is with with whoever's purchased this product. I've had stuff 5 years out of warranty. I didn't feel needed to go bad. Shouldn't have gone bad. I've contacted the factory direct, and they're like, we're going to send someone out to take care of that free of charge. I don't know of any other companies that will do that anymore.
Outside of warranty.
Outside of warranty.
Yeah.
Like, you get 2 years with their product, and then an extra year if it's FCI installed. This is like at year 7 or 8.
Yeah.
And they've taken care of product. No one does that.
I experienced that personally. I have a cooktop. I don't know if you remember the Freedom cooktop.
Yep.
I paid $1,500 to replace an element on one side. Then the other side started going out, and it was to the point that, you know, it was like sometimes I could use it, and then sometimes it would just be like error, and I'd like reset the breaker, turn it on, you know, and try not to use the right side because the left side worked. Anyway, disaster. I mean, those people, they wouldn't give me the time of day. They didn't care if I was a builder. They didn't care if I was recommending their products to people. They didn't care if I was, you know. And I just kind of at that point was like, I don't feel good about suggesting or recommending your product if me as a builder, if you can't even get me, if that's how you're going to treat me, and I'm more than a one-time sell, right? Because this is what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're going to treat me this way, how are you going to treat my clients when they call? And then when you treat them poorly, I'm going to get a phone call.
Right.
It's like, wow, this shitty stove we bought, or this refrigerator, these assholes, like, and then they're mad at you, right? And so, you know, that's one thing that I appreciate about them, and I, you know, fortunately haven't really had any issues with any of the Wolf products that we've used, and so we've never had to lean on that. But I feel confident recommending based upon what you've seen, right? Because you're in the space, so it's like you're seeing it all the time.
Years and years and years, like clear back to 2006 to 12, you know, they still had an amazing product.
Yeah.
Like there's still a lot of their product that's still working from back then.
Yeah, there was a remodel that we did, and we pulled out, you know, I don't know, it'd been there 35 years just running like a champ.
Yep.
Pulled the old one out, put a new one in, you know?
That's the name of the game
in
our world.
So Sub-Zero is kind of the refrigeration.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, I don't want to go too far into the weeds, but they do better with the refrigeration for a few different reasons with like off-gassing, humidity. Kind of explain that a little bit.
Yeah, dual compressor, if it's a, you know, all-in-one unit with fridge freezer. You know, the coolest thing for me is their filtration system, that as your food starts to break down and off gas, it pulls the gases out of the fridge. Your food stays fresh a long time. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's almost like a miniature map modified atmosphere packaging, right? It's in the fridge, and it's like it's pulling that oxygen, all those off gases out to keep things fresher longer.
Yeah, if you've ever walked up to a Sub-Zero and opened the door and then closed the door and then tried to open the door right back, you can't get that door to budge.
Yeah.
It's pulling all that air out. That food is in good hands.
Yeah. What about cooking?
You know, there's a lot of really good cooking products out there. I mean, I like Thermador's got their Star Burner. They've got some really good cooking product. I mean,
I feel like cooking product is a little bit easier than refrigeration. I feel like refrigeration is a little more sophisticated.
It really is. And you go to refrigeration, and if you're doing like wood panels on your refrigeration, there's some that are easier to install and have adjustment, really adjustment on your panels to get reveals perfect. Some are a little trickier. Some you just don't even want to touch. But, you know, cooking products it's a little different space. And I will say that Wolf does have the best steam oven on the planet, in my opinion. And pretty much every house I'm selling a full package in has a steam oven anymore.
Yeah.
Reheating, leftovers, just like you just left the restaurant. It's crazy.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
I need one of those.
I need one of those in my house as well.
So, Zane, what would you say is your favorite part about doing, you know, being now a business owner and, you know, providing clients with incredible appliances, because these are really incredible appliances. What's your favorite part about kind of this journey that you've been on from, you know, working the grandpa's little, you know, electric motor shop, even though you did the same thing again and again and again. Though, man, those little motors were well oiled. So, to, you know, all the way from that to, you know, obviously the hardships and the difficulties, and then climbing out and through those difficulties to where you are now. What stands out the most through kind of all of that?
I feel very blessed that I have had, I've met a lot of amazing people along the way in this journey.
Yeah.
Really have. And, you know, I do feel really fortunate to have made it out of the other side.
Yeah.
Because it was tricky for a minute there. I really didn't know if I'd come back from that. It's like daily scratching your way back to some sort of normal, right? I think that today I'm a different person. I used to say I was version 2.0. I don't know if that's like necessarily true. I have different, I look at things through a different lens. How's that?
Yeah. I think that's a great explanation of looking at it through a different lens. Reminds me of, there was I can't remember the guy's name. He did this educational series, and it was all about, like, he's a photographer, and he would change his lens, and he would show one thing and then put a different lens on, and it would show this, you know, this incredible picture.
Yeah.
Right? When you're looking at this, it's like, but changing your lens is life altering.
It really is.
Yeah. And
I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy that you're here.
Thank you. No, it has been a journey, and I think you know, there's nothing special about what I went through. I think a lot of people in their journeys go through the same things, and it just doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah.
Which is kind of sad. I think we all have our struggles, and we all go through our things, and I have landed in a space that I'm like, I am very happy to be where I am. You know, not just work-wise, but all around. Like, there's so much going on in my life now.
Yeah. Well, Zane, we think you're a rock star. We appreciate you coming, spending the afternoon with us. We're excited to see Craftsman Appliances and how you help that grow over the next few years. And no doubt it's going to continue to, you know, grow like a rocket ship. And we're excited for you.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you having me on.